Okay, I'm here. I need to double check my volume real quick though, so I'm going to do that real quick. Hopefully it sounds better. And hey Link, this is a visual novel. Basically, there's a lot of things that are animated, but a lot of it I have to read. And it's a horror game, so there's some spooky, scary stuff in it. Let me hear how it sounds real quick. You're going to hear double things for a second. Let me hear how it sounds real quick. You're going to hear double things for a second. Definitely sounds better. I turned down the game volume, and then I turned down mine a little bit because I was peaking a lot. But I think it's better. It wasn't that bad. It was just the voices from the game were a bit louder than me, actually. And I didn't like that too much watching it back, so. And let me get to the actual game, though. Come on, game. Come on, OBS, you can see it. Also, of course, background noise, same as always, it's the AC. Now, where I left off, I need to change. Here. Yes. So the last thing I did, I played through this character named Hannah. Let me just look through this so it goes away. And Hannah, this is who I'm playing as right now. I played through her entire story, which is totally fine, but I decided to go back and make a few changes. And one of them made my relationship with her husband better, which is good. And then I'm going to make a different decision here, which is a big decision. Last stream, I picked the perhaps a break is needed. But after reading ahead, because I wanted to make sure certain relationships live through this game, just because I want to, I found out that I'm basically leading her down the path that's going to get her killed, and I don't want her to be killed. So I'm going to redo this part, and hopefully she doesn't get killed in the long run. So instead of getting a break with her husband, she's going to need to work for her happy ending. And blah, blah, blah. If I love Luke, I'll have to fight for him, don't I? So far, I've been doing nothing but sitting on my behind, hoping it'll fix itself. This whole mess definitely isn't going to fix itself. She's referring to her friend who came into their housewarming party they're throwing and said that her husband got her pregnant with his baby. And yeah, it threw quite a commotion at this party. How dare that woman try to drag our name and our relationship through the mud with her lies. And at my own party. Determination fires me up as I take a step forward into the middle of the fray. All the while, she's been screaming. I signal for security to stop, and I can already feel the glower on my face as I stare into hers. She wilts as soon as she sees me. She starts to grow anxious, and her protests die down. I can see as her haughty, angry expression turns into a horrified realization. Rightfully so, she should be scared. What is it that they say again? Never wake a sleeping dragon? They often think that Luke is the one in charge, and that he is the one to be feared and appeased. They think of me as only the pretty wife. They forget that I am just as capable and just as worthy of respect.
I invite you, my friend, into my house on a day of merriment. And you insult my name and accuse my husband of infidelity.
Yup.
What have I ever done to make you treat us with such disrespect?
Yup.
You are no longer welcome in any of our estates, our properties, and our businesses. And we will no longer patronize yours. Now, escort the girl and make sure she isn't standing even an inch within our grounds.
She looks devastated. Reasonable. This does make her a pariah, doesn't it? I should feel concerned, but I can't even find an inkling of mercy within me. I don't know what her plan was. I don't know what she wanted to make out of this. The money? Luke? If it doesn't matter what she wanted.
You won't show your face to me ever again if you know what is good for you, Rochelle.
Yes, finally. Good relationship. I'm trying to make sure that the husband doesn't go crazy and murder his wife. Because that apparently is a big thing that happens, and I'm trying to avoid that.
Take her away.
The tension is thick in the air, and the silence that embraces the room is so set that one can practically hear a pin drop. There are worried and almost fearful glances from some of the guests, but they all know that it is well within my right. She is the one who started this whole dilemma. It just so happens that I'm the one ending it. As long as everyone hold their tongue and don't interfere, none of the consequences matter to me. Especially when my darling looks at me with a different shine in his eyes. It's almost as if he seems proud of what I've done, and it spurs me on more than anything. Nonetheless, I still act upset because this does not change what just happened. He still has a lot to answer to, because even if the woman is lying, there is still an inkling of truth in every lie. So when I turn to him and say that the shock he displays brings me gratification, yeah, is an understatement. Of course, there is no reason to make a husband and wife spat in public spectacle, so some privacy will generate at the least number of headaches and complications. Everyone is still far too busy in the ballroom, and most of the staff are in the kitchen. A sharp glance at anyone who will go through the doors is all it takes to make them retreat. And the most private we can get without me dragging Luke all the way to our bedroom is the foyer.
We are going to talk about this, Lucille Mitchell-Wright.
Lucille, what a name.
Not now, but we will talk about this.
Right, I swear that is not my child, no matter what that woman says. Hannah, darling, you believe me, don't you?
I believe that it isn't your child. But you never said that you did not cheat on me with her.
She's right, he never denied that.
We'll have a talk about that tomorrow, among other things.
What for?
Because you are Dick?
What other
What
things?
for?
About us, Luke.
Yeah.
This isn't right, this doubting each other and not talking. That's why we'll talk. If anyone needs me, I'll be in our room. I'm in no mood to be talking with anyone about anything, especially nosy baggers who have no business with any of it.
Should I be worried? Scared? Because you know threats do not work with me, Hannah.
None of those. You should know I'm not your enemy, Luke. I need rest. That's all.
Of course, you must be so tired. You've earned some peace. I'll take over the party from here.
Why does he sound like he's still shouting? We're not even in a room full of people anymore.
Good night, love.
Good night, Buttercup.
Sometimes I forget that leaving Luke to handle a party is a horrible idea. The next day, Saturday. Because come morning, the dining hall is a mess with a few of his drunk friends sleeping about. At least a dozen men and women are scattered about, sleeping like they are in an alcohol-induced coma. Even Officer Lee is here, sleeping off the effects and still clutching a bottle of 1998. Don't know what that means or says. No doubt Luke has served some of his stories in absinthe. Judging by the faint burnt smell, they set fire to the latter too. No idea what that means. I think it's French. There is only so much I can tolerate, as we have Johans retrieve every single one of them and get a cab. And they are everywhere. At the table, and on it, and underneath it, and some are even in the kitchen.
Nap time is over, Kinder. Time to go.
And oh dear, does this piss our valet, though he is still a man of silent fury, although it is a little treat to hear him utter curses in German from the other room. I imagine Luke will be amused as well, if it isn't his guests that are being thrown out. Instead, he's brooding in his seat, rolling a stalk of daffodil in between his fingers.
He's energetic. And you aren't drunk. That, or you are getting better with handling your hangovers without your dog hairs. Should I be looking out the window to see if the sky has turned red and if pigs have started to fly?
I am unfortunately completely sober, Hannah.
And how does it feel not being hungover?
He feels like a totally different person in a way.
Still miserable.
It'll get better.
Or so they say. You wanted to talk about something?
You know, for once, I wish you were hungover. Maybe this isn't the best time for this talk.
No, please. I do not like loose ends.
You just shove alcohol in his face and then talk.
And this is a bloody ugly loose end.
Then, first things first, I want you to be honest with me. Just between the two of us. Without others to impress. Without people listening in. Just you and me.
Did you or did you not sleep with Rochelle Lee and got her pregnant?
I didn't get her pregnant.
What about the first half of that question, though?
But the thought of having a child with her? Can you just imagine it? Or rather, don't.
Can you just answer the question?
I can already see it. It'll look like that ruddy pig boy from that Young Wizard book.
What?
I don't care about Once Upon a Time.
I thought they were trying to make fun of Harry Potter.
What I'm asking is if you were with her the other night during my party.
Him not showing up in most of the gatherings I've hosted in the past is nothing new, of course. The one I had last week is no different. It's merely another thing I've gotten used to between us after things turned sour. But after Rochelle's outburst last night, I won't deny feeling the disappointment, the betrayal. What's done is done, however, though at the very least I still want to hear the truth from him.
She made me meet with her the night of your party. But I swear, I only agreed to go so that I could tell her I wasn't having none of it. It isn't my baby. I don't even think it's Lee's. Poor bloke. I mean, I probably slept with her once. We were probably incredibly drunk, but that would have been a long time ago before she was preggo.
Well, usually if you sleep with someone before they're preggo, it's still a possibility that you're the dad. But, you know, I guess he's dumb.
Are you sure, Luke? You're not making anything up or leaving anything out?
Of course not. I swear it on my mother's grave.
He swears it, he says, as he hands me the flower with such tenderness. And I believe him.
Well, if that's all you wanted to talk about, you shouldn't have made me worry.
For the sake of my sanity and for the sake of our marriage, I'll pretend that you never said any of that. Are you sure you aren't drunk now?
Haven't had a single drop and hating it.
Would you like something to drink? Because I'm not done. I have something else to tell you.
No thanks, maybe I will after this little talk you wanted to have. I already told you, and you already said you believe me that the brat isn't my child. I already spilled that I might have had drunken sex with her once, and you wish to wipe that off your memory.
Yes.
So do we have anything else to talk about? Because have at it, I'm all ears.
You're pretty miffed for someone who just admitted to his wife that he's cheated.
She's not wrong. It really isn't his place to be angry right now.
And you're stalling. I can tell that incident has you shaken up. So why don't you just spit it out and get this all over with?
I'm pregnant.
Well, there that is.
What? Come again?
You heard me.
Come again.
You've got to be kidding, right? This must be some kind of joke. Are you taking the piss at me? Because woman, I don't need a second fake pregnancy.
That's an interesting line to say. Instead of answering, however, I stay silent and let the matter of the facts sink into his head. His face heats up for a moment before he goes pale. He raises a hand in hopes of asking for a drink, but the morning staff are still busy evicting the last of his inebriated companions. And he doesn't even bother to bark out orders as if he's lost his very voice. Actually, he looks like he's on the verge of hyperventilating.
This is Hannah. Hannah, darling. I need some air. How long have you been?
3 months. And the twins. Although we don't know yet if they're a boy or a girl or...
Well, yeah, 3 months is
Or
pretty
both.
new.
Good God. Twins. I'm going to be a father to 2 tiny babies. Breathe, Luke. Breathe.
I think I prefer Luke acting like this crazy compared to him being drunk and annoying.
Goodness, Luke, I'm the one who's pregnant here, not you.
No, don't touch me! Stay away!
Hello? A scream cuts off my amusement, and without thinking, Luke and I rush to the foyer. There stands the crazed-looking chief inspector trashing about as he tries to make it up the stairs while Johannes holds him back.
What is going on here?
Und tschüss. All the Schweinehunde must leave, including you, Chef Inspector. This one is very problematic and will not leave.
No, you can't make me leave! I need to stay here for her! I need to help her!
I think he's talking about the ghost.
Oh, Rochelle?
That's his wife.
She's probably already at home, dearie. Or she might have already gone and skipped town. Who knows?
Oh, for the love of... There's no point talking logic in him. Lee, go home. You're drunk.
Accurate.
Can't you hear her crying?
Yeah, he's definitely talking about the ghost.
She was crying, just weeping and in so much pain last night. I couldn't help her. Drunk, sobbing bastard that I am. But my help. She needs my help.
Is he gonna die off
Tell
camera?
your fucking stupid lapdog to let go of me, Luke! Or I'm gonna knock him down and I'm gonna knock the 2 of you down too!
Language! I've already dealt with your
Language.
wife, so don't make me deal with you, Lee. Or I swear I'll...
Hannah, enough. Don't stress yourself over him. It'll be bad for the twins.
He's right, it would be really
So
bad.
go back to your breakfast and let me handle this, okay?
Are you sure?
Why wouldn't I be? Now, go ahead and do something less stressful.
Just go shoot something less stressful. Go ahead and do nothing. There isn't much to do, it seems, whenever I step up to the plate and try to take responsibility for something. Perhaps because everything is already being handled by someone hired specifically for that job. And with Johannes overseeing the staff and Luke handling everything else as a whole, that doesn't leave much for me. I can't even take the job of delegation because all it takes is a word to one of the senior staff and everything will be taken care of for me. Rich people problems, am I right? Moving in here a few days ago may have very well been the chore that took the most effort from me, and that didn't take any real effort at all.
Hannah, go buy a mansion in the middle of nowhere. Good idea. Great plan.
Great plan. There are no dishes to set aside or busy myself with. Any mess left behind is now nearly non-existent. Just sit on a counter while eating cake is supposed to be my next plan. Alas, there isn't even a cake to finish off, and I don't really know what brought me to the kitchen in the first place. It's not like I'm craving anything else, nor do I have any unfinished business left here. But there's a calling to this room. Speaking of calling, why not do just that? Might as well, since I have nothing else to do. At least that will require some effort on my part, with how cut off from the rest of Luxborn the mansion is, and with how long it was abandoned before we moved in, having a landline is out of the question. The solution's supposed to be our mobiles, cell phones, though it isn't much considering how spotty the signal is in the area. It'll take a bit of maneuvering to get even a single bar as it is. ... It takes a bit, as I said it would. I have to park my rear on one of the cold drawers, but that suits me just fine. Another matter that needs my effort is who to call. She, who must not be named, is certainly off the list. Rochelle, the woman who said that her husband got her pregnant. And that doesn't leave much in the category of close friends who attended the party, along with the category of everyone else who's awake at this early hour. But soon enough I manage and a call goes through.
Hello, Rebecca Gales here. Who's this?
Good morning, Becky.
Hannah? Oh, wait, how did you get my number?
You
Stalking.
responded to your RSVP through the phone. It's all saved in here, of course.
Okay, not stalking.
I thought I'd like to say hi and make plans and get together sometime. Also, I'd love to hear news about your mother and father and about you, my dear.
Her mom was a private tutor for Hannah, and so Becky's like a weird friend.
Oh, I hope I didn't wake you up.
Oh, you're good. It's sports day at school today, so I was just prepping for that.
But isn't it Saturday? It's Saturday. Why is it sports day? Why is she lying? What is this? What is this photo of? Oh, is this the crying woman that the officer said he was talking about? They actually drew her? Interesting.
Figures that you'd be a teacher as well. I'm sure your students must absolutely adore you.
Don't know about that.
Mathematics?
History, actually. Anyway, it's real nice to know you've got my number. I was going to ask for yours because Mom wanted to keep in touch.
You could have asked, silly girl. I would have gladly given it to you.
Real quick saving.
Couldn't, though, because, well, the thing that happened.
The thing.
But really am sorry, though. I gotta run. School, schedule, stuff. Is there anything else you want to say? Don't want to use the mobile while driving.
Oh, of course, of course. I shouldn't keep you.
Is that a British thing to call a cell phone a mobile? Because I definitely don't call that. It's a cell phone. In America, at least.
But I wanted to thank you for your company yesterday.
Not a problem.
And for that other thing as well.
What for now?
For what you said to me. With what had happened.
Rebecca is the one who told us that we should fight for what we want. So fighting for our marriage was from Rebecca's mouth.
It's been very helpful in...
Yep, there it is. We got spooks! And I think it's a quick time. A strange clicking noise drowns out most of her words, too. I doubt she can understand what I'm saying. That was unpleasant, and the line completely dies. I can feel a headache coming along. It's just building up, starting from a light throbbing on one side of my head. The static is gone, and that helps a lot, but there is still that incessant, horrible clicking. Again and again and again. Which doesn't make sense. The mobile is turned off, isn't it? And if it isn't coming from the phone, then where? Looking about, I can't help but let my eyes be drawn to the hatch leading to the wine cellar once more. That's when the clicking stops, and I can hear the crying, that familiar crying from before. What happened the other day when I was told that nobody should have been down there? I tried to forget it because of how it unsettled me so. One can hardly do that when I'm looking at the very thing I'm trying to forget. Somebody is crying down there again. But if I leave it alone, it simply won't stop bothering me for the rest of the day. They might have forgotten to lock it with the party going on.
Again! If somebody is pulling my leg, I will not be happy.
Why would you open it? True enough, all it takes is a bit of a pull to open the hatch. As I look down the cellar, a sense of uneasiness washes over me. It isn't just the sudden onset of vertigo and nausea, but also the darkness. It's suffocating, and as I look down, it feels as if it's looking back at me. I worry that something will pull me into the deep. The cries drown beneath the shrieks that start echoing in my head, high and shrill like the nails being dragged across a chalkboard. They're all screaming and shouting at me, and I can just feel her rage. Help me. She wants to drown me, drag me down and crush me to the very depths of darkness until there is nothing left of me. The deep abyss waits for me, for my death. They're all calling for it. This is a nightmare. There's a rope around my neck, and I can feel the rest of me being torn apart. And they're still screaming. I'm screaming, though it is not my voice that escapes my lips. It claws through, climbing up and forcing its way up my throat like putrid bile. I choke and gag, yet I scream and shriek at the same time. And I'm me, but I'm not me. Shoot. Oh my god. Oh my god. That one... Why didn't that one have a letter? Ah! Oh my god. Okay, I survived. We're good. It pushes me down to my knees before I'm prone and vulnerable on my stomach. It makes me tumble, and I can just feel my whole body seizing, writhing on the floor. Everything and nothing hurts. It feels like I'm on the verge of death. And if I'm not dying, I nearly wish I actually am. What did he actually hear? I don't think he heard the ghost. I don't think I was making any noises either.
Why are you?
Prince!
Seeing Luke, something snaps back, and I'm able to take a gasp of air on my own volition for the first time in what felt like centuries. I would have rejoiced and cried for his name, but if the pain did not still rack my body. The cute picture. Instead, all I can do is stare listlessly as he comes to my side, lifts me up, cradling me in his arms. He tries to get me to my feet, perhaps to take me out of there, but all he's able to do is get me to sit and make sure I'm not trashing on the floor. I think it's supposed to be thrashing, not trashing. I can still feel my muscle spasms, limbs jerking like a puppet on a string. Luke holds me tight and keeps me still so that I do not hurt myself anymore. Whatever it is that happened, it has my mind feeling frayed and battered. Eventually the pain dies down into a dull ache and my own tongue stops feeling like cotton. It's only now that I can feel the wetness on my cheeks, tears streaking down my face. And coughing racks my body now that I don't feel like choking, and it all just feels so horrible. But I don't care. I don't care.
Please!
What happened here?
Crazy things.
Who did this to you?
Crazy things.
I don't know.
It was a ghost.
I'm so sorry.
Shh, it's all right. You're safe now, Hana. You're safe now.
Any Ghostbusters, man. ... And I think that's the end of hers. Let me just look at this. That's the last thing. Interesting, interesting. I think... Yep, we're Zach now. Zachary time. Yeah, Zachary's is a long one. Compared to Hannah, like you can see how big it is compared to this red line here. But look at Zachary. Look at how small that is. Even Isabella wasn't that long. So this must be like literally almost everything this entire game instead of doubling back to anything. Oh my god, Zach. I'm gonna have to go through some... What is this? These different ends here. Okay, that's sus. That's very sus. And let's save. The pleasant aroma hits me long before I cross the threshold. Faint but light and warm, a reminder of what home is. Pa's stern but commending gaze, Ma's tender smiles, the sunlight filtering through the eaves in the morning, and the distinct smell of cinnamon and vanilla as it drifts through the air every time something cooks from the room. The room, our room, Mom and Pa's pride and joy, my sister and I, too, eventually. But we ain't allowed there. Not yet. Not until we're taller or older. Not until we've learned how to take care of ourselves and not burn our hands, or reach the cupboards without having to be lifted.
But a little peek wouldn't hurt, yeah?
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases and Pa...
No, please wait. I'll be good. I'll sleep on time. Don't go.
I can't hear Pa. Well, that was unpleasant. Not above the, I don't know what that word is, clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only blinding fear. When my foot slips, the red sea that catches me is bitter and frigid, but the blood that drips in my hand is warm, warm, warm. It ain't my blood. The walls tumble and everything goes quiet. It takes a few moments for everything to fall into place, for my eyes to adjust to the relative darkness of the room. That was not a fun nightmare. Nightmares aren't usually fun, though, so... Despite the pleasant chill that the AC brings, my shirt is still clinging tightly to me, and my blanket is a tangled mess around my throat. Morning has not even arrived, and yet...
Way too early for this thing, man.
And too long. Too long since I've last woken up drenched in my own sweat, head littered with thoughts that are gone as soon as my eyes open. All too often, only imprints and brief images are left to haunt me for the rest of the day, or until my mind forgets about it. I like how he has a fish mat right there. So what day is this? It doesn't want to tell me what day? Real quick, let's look at... I looked at Hannah before. Oh, it updated afterwards. Their 7-year marriage is strained, but Hannah tries her best to make it work. And Zach, 6 foot, that's right, he's tall. Oh, he's American. How did he get to England? You want a fish joke? Yeah, what's your fish joke? He likes video games. Heck yeah. Before his parents' death, he lived in New Jersey, where his family owned a dinner and a bakery. He and his older sister were orphaned due to a hate crime, and they were forced to move to England, where their grandparents lived. Oh, that explains a lot. He had loved cooking and helping out at their old diner, but grew lazy and disinterested after the incident. It did not help that he was one of the few blacks in the predominantly white community at the time. His passion for the visual arts was sparked when he found old Polaroids and home movies of his parents. Freelancing helped pay his rent, but the man had long set his sights on an indie film scene. It was during the creation of his first documentary that a robbery occurred, and Ashton was there to investigate. Being in the wrong place and the wrong time led to Zachary being placed as the suspect, but the rookie detective helped clear his name. Well, that explains why he's so close with Ash. What's a fish without an eye? What? Is it just FSH? I don't know what. It is a How do you even say that? I wonder how many fish are like that without an eye. I'm sure there's a lot of out there. Honestly, considering how much they eat each other. All too often, only imprints and brief images are left to haunt me for the rest of the day, or until my mind forgets about it. Egad, whichever comes first. You know what I've noticed? Everyone's apartment that I've seen, aside from obviously the rich family, is so tiny. Like, is the bathroom supposed to be this thing here? Obviously, there's a little kitchenette thing there, but this is so small. Unless maybe that's like the shower or something, so it's like a shower to step out of, and there's the kitchen and the doors this way. But that doesn't make sense because this is just open air. This is a weird looking room. Yet vivid or not, what little I can remember does not matter. Regardless, the desperation sticks, clawing up, pushing, and urging me to relive every moment, every sensation, and... There's a twinkle in Ma's eyes when she looks up from her work, flour dusting her nose and cheeks. The scent of freshly baked bread wafts from the oven as soon as Pa opens it, and the homely fragrance of honey fills the room. He reaches up to wipe the small beads of sweat away from his forehead before gesturing for me to come closer, the moment he spots me in my little hiding place behind the door. I expected him to be angry, but his pat on my back when I came within arm's reach is encouraging enough. We'll have to taste these first before we put it up for sale tomorrow. You up for it, little man? Is it good enough? A knock cuts through the air before I can answer. Sharp, heavy, demanding, familiar. So distantly familiar. Ma ushers me out the kitchen when Pa moves to answer it. But I know what waits outside. The taste of blood in my mouth sends an unpleasant churning in my gut. Ma's apron crinkles under my tight grip. Oh, it was a real knock. Oh. Something snaps back into place. My bed remains in utter disarray. The walls still need a new paint job, and the wall clock ticking opposite of my bed is as unsettling as ever. Ash is right. I should have already replaced that when I had the chance.
No longer there, Zachary. Here and there, miles apart.
You're right.
Calm down. Breathe.
The pressure of my own fingers against my temple is a welcome sensation over the anxiety gripping me. I never really did anything to stave off the headaches sure to follow after this before, but it grounds me. A little reminder that I am safe, away from the place I once called home, from Ma and Pa's. The urgency with each rap that follows finally chases away the ghosts threatening to hang around. Why anyone thinks it's a good idea to knock at someone else's door this late confuses me. Nana would have chased them away with a broom if she was here. I mean, that's a fair thing to do. What, is it really midnight? Is that supposed to be the correct time? But no matter, it's a welcome break from the thoughts about to take a morbid turn if left festering. It's probably just Ash anyway, looking for a place to crash. looking for a place to crash. Wonder of wonders why he's bothering with the courtesy when he never did so before. Even with that hunch, though, habit compels me to check who it is first through the peephole. Better safe than sorry, they say, except the person that greets me on the other side ain't him. Unless his hair grew longer overnight and he started wearing a ponytail, of course. Oh my god, is it Isabella? Is it my girl Isabella? Our main girl? Unless his hair, of course, which I highly doubt will happen anytime soon, no matter how funny that looks in my head. I waste no time opening the
Isabella.
latches. Oh, thank God.
It's late.
Safe haven. I'm not dead, because the first chapter, when I did her chapter, I was confused if I was dead or not. There's something I can't quite pinpoint in her eyes when she looks up. Her face a pallid shade, shoulders tense, breathing heavy, and an uncontrollable shaking in her hands she's trying to hold back. Hide if I didn't know any better.
Hey, Zach. Sorry, I know it's weird for me to show up at this hour, but you were the closest to my office, and...
No. It's perfectly fine. I'm not really working on anything right now.
So she ran straight to Zach after she got out of her office because she was being haunted in her office.
Do you want to come in?
Is it all right? I know you should be sleeping at this hour, but I thought...
So it must be
I'm
midnight.
sorry, I just thought... I have no idea why I went here. My feet just moved on their own after I got out of the office, and...
Again, closest place to the office makes sense.
Sorry.
She trails off, her voice lost in the muggy night air. I wait for her to say more, but instead her only response is a downward shift of her gaze, back to her still trembling hands, as if the motion alone is enough of an explanation. A minuscule gesture, easy to miss if one is not paying attention. But for someone who has seen the same expression of in the mirror, done the same thing too many times when the night terrors are inevitable, it's not.
Hey, don't worry about it. At least you not.
I wanted to check on this. So Isabella, he's already happy with. Hannah, yeah. Oh, Rebecca, Ash, and Luke, they're all kind of normal, though.
Ash just barges in and crashes on the couch whenever he feels like it.
Freeloader.
I swear, that guy is one fine hairline away from being a criminal.
I mean, aren't most private investigators? They're kind of right on the line. Without waiting for her to answer, I step away from the door and saunter over to the kitchenette. For a few good seconds, the only clinking of plates can be heard above the constant tick-tock. Late as it might be for a snack, the familiar motions keep me occupied, steering my mind away from dangerous thoughts. Isabella's company is not unwelcome either. Whatever her reasons for showing up here at such an hour doesn't matter. I'll be damned if I turn her away, frazzled as she is. The door clicks shut behind her when she finally enters, feet scuffling softly against the tiled floor. In all the years I've known her, she has never once lost her ever upbeat spirit. Yet in this particular moment, as she stands in my doorway, holding her arms close to herself, it's as if I'm looking at someone completely withdrawn from the person I've come to know all these years.
Do you want to drink or eat anything? I haven't restocked my food stash yet, so ingredients may be a bit limited. But I'm sure I can whip something up with what I have here.
Of course he can.
Just water will do, please. Thanks, Zach.
What? No additional food requests?
All
That's
of it.
new. I'll put something together for you anyway.
Heck yeah.
And feel free to make yourself at home. You ain't exactly a new visitor here. Although my room's not at its most presentable right now. Sorry. New freelance gigs and such.
It's cleaner than Isabella's room is. Isabella's room has her clothes everywhere. It's ridiculous.
Didn't have time to fix things up here lately.
It's okay. I don't mind.
Usually she'd have something more to say about that. A quip or a witty remark to provoke a laughter or two. Nothing from her this time. Only a weak smile before she takes a seat on the couch, and silence that stretches out until what we left hanging feels disconcerting. Before everything turns stifling and awkward, I continue talking, if only to keep the dead air at bay. How's one supposed to keep a conversation going when the person you're talking to is like this?
Anyway, gigs. Can you believe this one client we got? Boss had all my schedule shoots shifted after they caught wind of this couple buying a new property. Man, must be nice to have all the money in the world.
He's clearly talking about the Luke and Hannah who bought the mansion, but Isabella sold it. And he knew Isabella was selling that mansion, so why doesn't he just acknowledge that it's the house that she sold?
World itself moves for you, huh?
She curled up on one side of the couch, hugging her knees close when I bring the tray carrying the sandwiches and water she requested. She starts to straighten up as I'm unloading the contents, but pauses as soon as I hold up my hand in a halting gesture.
You're a guest. Didn't I say you're free to make yourself at home? Here's your water. Careful.
The tremor in her hands, though lighter now, still hasn't subsided when she reaches out for the glass. I give her a questioning look, but she is quick to avert her eyes, keeping herself occupied by taking small gulps of water. Or maybe she just doesn't want me asking questions. Worrying. This sudden loss for words is bout of quiet not normally present in our chats. Even the creaking of the old chair when I casually take a seat is a welcome break. Although the company is familiar, this has gone way past unnerving.
Overtime at work?
She doesn't answer immediately. Another gulp drains her glass of its remaining contents. One would think it'd be enough to help her recover, yet she doesn't lose her taut grip on the glass and she cradles it in her lap. Her eyes take an unfocused gaze when she speaks again.
Yeah, boss handed me extra work today. After what happened to Rose.
Rose? Why do I feel like you've mentioned her before?
It's my boss?
Sorry, I'm better with remembering faces than names.
She was my coworker. That will take some getting used to. I was just talking to her the other day.
Was? Did she resign or something? I think I'm missing a few details here, Bella.
You've never met her. I think I did mention her once or twice. It doesn't matter. You probably heard her name recently from the news than me.
Something clicks then, a little memory from the night before. The bright red light of the dark room, the strong odor of the stop bath, and the television's barely audible murmur in the background, and the glimpse of a bloody room. The news is everywhere in the morning that follows. I just didn't think its effects will strike someone this close to me.
Oh. Damn. I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, like I said, it'll take some getting used to, but it'll get better. I hope it will.
As long as she doesn't die too.
Things might become a little busier for me, though. She left a lot of things unfinished. And I'm one of the few people in the office who knows how she works. Boss thinks the transition will be easier if I handle it.
That explains it. Well, just don't forget you still need rest. Even the most hard-working people I know don't keep hours as late as this. Hell, the subway stopped running hours ago. Crime rate might be lower here than most places, but that doesn't mean you can walk around freely in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's just for today.
Still a good thing you dropped by here first. I'm not just about to let you walk out here alone, especially not in the middle of the night.
Zach is way too nice.
Who knows what else could happen? I'm not saying you should go right now, but I could accompany you home if you...
No! Wait, please!
Yeah, don't make her go home. The vehement tension in her voice makes me pause, and it is, in this instance, the mask she's been keeping up falls apart, if only for a short while. Right then and there, I understand what's hiding behind her unfocused stare from the moment she arrived. Fear. Pure, unadulterated fear. It's disturbing to see such marring her usual upbeat countenance. Words! Zach's got a very good vocabulary. With a sigh, I cross the small distance separating us and kneel in front of her. She doesn't flinch when I do so. However, the way she appears to make herself smaller against the couch is telling
Bella,
enough.
This ain't just about your coworker, is it?
I told you about the ghost.
I'm all ears.
And the sound of glass shattering rents through the air as soon as her hold on it loosens. In the span of a few seconds, her breathing grows labored.
I don't know anymore.
She claps her hands over her ears, pressing it tightly against the side of her head. Her voice grows weaker with each word, each plea coming out of her mouth.
Please don't leave me alone. I don't want to be alone right now.
She's actually smart, because every other horror movie person would be trying to be alone right now and then they die.
I can't shake it off. Everywhere's not safe and...
All right, Isabella. Look at me.
My hands are firm on her shoulder when I pull her to look at me. It takes every force of will to ignore the terror in her eyes in favor of taking control of the situation. Too close, too similar.
Breathe. You're safe here. Inhale, hold, exhale. Stay in the present. I'm here. No one's gonna hurt you.
I mean, Zach's this big, tough man. He'll definitely take care of any ghosts, right?
Do you want to talk about it?
The force with which she shakes her head is enough reason to drop the topic.
No more. Please. No more. I don't want to remember anymore.
Kate, no more talking. I won't ask any more. Can I get you anything? Another glass of water? I think I have a tub of that pistachio ice cream you love so much.
That sounds yummy, actually.
We're gonna have to clean this mess first. Will you be fine on your own for a little while?
She nods lightly before retreating into herself again. No more words are exchanged after that, and I take that as my cue to start cleaning the shards littering the floor before either one of us gets hurt. The quiet hum of the AC is a pleasant distraction as I go over the menial task, more so than her ragged draws of breath or my little feeble attempts to tell a quick story or two, but the latter does the trick, and soon enough she's already drifted off by the time I return with the promised glass of water, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, and the strain on her shoulders gone. Frankly, I've never seen her this still. She mumbles something I don't quite catch when I carry her to the bed and hugs herself tighter against the mess of blankets. In spite of the fact that she appears relaxed, the small frown on her face hasn't quite disappeared. Whatever happened to her won't be leaving her anytime soon, but for her sake I hope it won't stay long with her. There are still questions left to be answered, but the late hour coupled with the sudden exhaustion made my old couch a more comfortable bed than it typically is. That does not look like a couch, that looks like a chair. So what day was that? Tuesday. Darkness immediately welcomes me as soon as my head hits the makeshift pillow. I can only wish the dreams will keep a distance for now. For both of us. Tuesday. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. In the end, it became one of those nights when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague, fuzzy thoughts. I lift a hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the cool morning light, washing everything in subtle gray hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button twice or thrice just to catch those precious few extra minutes of sleep, but the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
Groggily, I scramble for the bag sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped even as I fish the phone out, and Ashton's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call yet.
Took you long enough, Z-Man.
Ashton, it's 6. 6 in the morning. Sun hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet.
That was some really good voice acting, not gonna lie.
Stop calling me Z-Man.
It's 20 past 6, Zach.
Oh my god.
You want to talk? Give me back my 5 extra minutes, Ash. I want my sleep.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I can be a more person too if I want to.
What's this all really about? You don't usually make calls around this hour. Is the world ending today?
Sorry about that.
Sometime.
Becca rang me up a few minutes ago looking for Isabella. Said she didn't show up in her own apartment last night. We both tried calling, but her phone seems to be off. Do you have any idea where...
I should have known you two would come looking for her first thing in the morning.
Not a laughing matter, Zach. You can't really let your guard down with everything that's happened here recently.
Ash thinks that the ghost in the haunting is a serial killer, so he's really on high alert right now, thinking everyone's gonna get murdered. But it's a ghost doing the murdering.
You've heard about the Cooper woman from the news. Everyone in the precinct has been restless ever since the incident the other day.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Listen, Ash, about Bella.
I let my voice trail off, unsure about how to recount last night. If I should even say anything to him. He might be a close friend, but at the end of the day, whatever's bothering her ain't mine to speak on in the first place. On the bed, Isabella remains as still as when I transferred her there the night before. Sometime during her sleep, she pulled the blanket over herself and tucked into it comfortably. Like this, it's easy to forget the horror in her eyes and how much her hands and lips trembled. Save for her firm grip on the edge of the covers, she appears nearly as normal as she would any other day. Almost.
I'm not really sure how to go about this while being...
Zach, what about her?
Something, the worry, the concern must have surfaced in my tone because his own shifts then, carefully as if he was preparing for the worst.
Look, you don't have to worry about her. She's with me right now. Since last night, in fact.
Oh, why didn't you just say so earlier?
She kinda knocked in the middle of the night. I couldn't possibly wake you two over that. And with how things are when she arrived, I thought it'd be best if I let her rest first. I just wasn't expecting people would be looking for her before the rooster even crows.
You could have at least called her something. Becca's beside herself with worry when she found out. You know how much she frets about the smallest stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. That was a lapse on my part. And I just didn't think...
He could have just texted them. Like, they said they have a group chat. Just text them, hey, Becca just came to my house and she's freaked.
Okay, you know what?
Becca.
Rebecca's
Bella.
worries ain't completely baseless.
Yeah.
Isabella hasn't been her usual self since the movie. Maybe even before that. I don't know if I should be opening my mouth about this, but Bella didn't outright say I shouldn't, so
So something's wrong then?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure, to be completely honest. I couldn't get the story out of her.
Really? I thought you'd learned something from me by now.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to interrogate a girl in the middle of the night when she's freaked out that badly. Calm down.
That's not it. Ash, when she appeared at my doorstep last night, she was shaking, and when I tried to ask her about it, she just panicked. Had this frightened look on her face. I'd be surprised if this was the first time I've seen it, but it ain't. Dude, the first time, she was screaming.
First time? When was this? You weren't talking about the thing in the movie house, are you? Because that was just us fooling around. Granted, I think I went overboard with the joke, but...
No, it happened the day after. When she invited us to lunch,
That's true.
you weren't there.
I forgot about that. They went out to lunch, and then she saw the ghost in a windowsill for a shop, and she just started screaming.
We were walking one second, and then the next, she's crying out. I'll be straight with you. That scared me shitless.
It bothered him if the way he falls silent after is telling. But whatever his opinion is, it stays absent from his voice when he speaks again. He's always been good with that, hiding what he thinks.
Did she say anything else?
Nothing. Won't tell me anything aside from a few vague words. I didn't want to push it.
Where is she? Is she still sleeping?
Right here with me, still sleeping. Should I wake her up or something? Let her know you guys are looking for her?
No need. Let her rest. I'll drop by in a few.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you have work at this time? I mean, I can drop her off home myself before meeting my client later.
Look who's talking.
My schedule's flexible, Ash. Last time I checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up, you know.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scared Cat's fine. Bye.
He drops the call before I can even get a word in, and for several minutes I find myself simply listening to the rest of Luxburn's rouses. The increasing sound of passing traffic, the bustle of nearby shops preparing for the day, and the growing clamor of the people while they go about their morning. Not the most soothing sounds to hear following a troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby, Isabella doesn't wake. Isabella shifts but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware that the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair to say in light of last night. If only forgetting is as easy as breathing. A small yawn escapes me when I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have a day to get through despite the proverbial ghosts hanging around. Proverbial. They're real. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against my palm, and at the instant I pick it up. The sterile odor of the capsules equally so, yet the weight they carry is something I've never gotten used to. Years ago, I'd spend minutes, heck even hours, staring at a single pill prior to taking one. Now it's just routine, a way to stave off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro would be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Another sigh comes out, tired and weary, and then I pop a tablet into my mouth.
What time is it?
Bottle on my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are some things I'd rather keep to myself.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the questions with a long, drawn-out yawn, one reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out of my mouth at the sight. In this manner, it's easy to mistake her for someone too young for responsibilities. Inexperienced and immature, even. Easy to forget that she was thrust into the role of adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level Ash exercises for his investigations, or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to deftly put what she sees around her on canvas. And if the way her eyes flickers to the table and my hand says something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the questions this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
You flew. The ghost.
My doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be if I leave a lady sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions?
Fair.
Not in this house. My nana would give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Probably.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and...
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime. Although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot. I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. But as long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be...
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another curious glance over to the table and back to the bottle, holding every small piece of what keeps the bad memories at bay. The blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. It never stops, doesn't it?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
She makes a slight gesture with her head towards the bottle, asking a question without really asking. Subtlety has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not at a loss for words at that. She has left it up to me with whether I'll give her a response she wants to hear or not. Saving. Gotta get back. I need to look at my branching tree. Where am I? Where am I? Oh my god, this is just straight away. What were these? What was this? Oh, this probably would have been if Becca didn't show up and she died. Sorry, Bella died. And then he would have just woken up alone. So I'm going this route for real. I'm skipping all this. Jeez. And this route. And then that's oh my god. What is this way? Oh my god. First decision. I already saved, right? Yes. Play it off, tell the truth. Honestly, let's look at the relationship. I should tell the truth. Yeah, good. Good boy. It's never easy, ain't it? Talking about my own problems, that is. It will never be, not by a long shot. Not when I've let it stay this way for so long. I realized that long ago when the wounds are still fresh and the dreams are a nightly occurrence, you can't force yourself to get better and move on to do better things. It is what's normal now, and I can only cope. The question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact, but of all the people I keep close in my life, she's probably one of the very few who perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely. I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her, giving too much of what I can. However, for all of her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out, and that is all I can ask of her.
I was kind of hoping you wouldn't have seen me with these.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's.
Not usually.
Do you need me to get anything from the store? Soup or something? There's one nearby, right? I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now.
I don't think he's mentally perfectly healthy, so I wouldn't say it that way.
It's really difficult to say, but can you promise me you'll listen at least?
What is this about, Zach?
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. Well, Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is. Can't hide anything from him.
So Ash already knew? So it was just Bella and Becca who didn't know.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
If you say so.
She takes a seat on the couch, her posture easy and open and her smile honest, as if this is just a simple talk between two friends on a regular day. It's far from one, but her unreserved air is enough to stamp down the twinge of unease that threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. Feels like yesterday, achievement unlocked. True to her words, she listens while the story spills out of my mouth, of my ma and pa and that little old diner across the pond and what it left in me that day. I don't recall most of it now, my own account jagged with a few missing details here and there. The passing years have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident, all except for that one moment in the kitchen. The ringing of gunshots are as vivid as it sounded that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams and the moment Pa's body hits the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from underneath him. And the gunmen, He was smiling. He was smiling when Pa opened the door to welcome him in. He was smiling when he put a bullet in Pa's chest and in Ma's head. I've heard stories of how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. I'd never believed it up until that
Nan
moment.
and Gran took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment will be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
And now he gets a real ghost, too. This is fun for him. I expected questions, mostly those brimming with childlike curiosity, and maybe some that are a little too hard to answer. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see the breadwinner in her. Her younger siblings are lucky to have her. Well, clearly she's pretty mature, because she's the breadwinner sending money home to her younger siblings and her mom and dad. So yeah, she's definitely a mature person. It's just her personality is a little not as mature as you think. When I'm done, after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me. A bit awkward considering the gap in our heights, because she's 5'2" and he's 6 foot, so that's a 10-inch difference. But it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in kind, if I'm even supposed to reciprocate the gesture given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face. Not the reaction I braced myself for, but obviously better than what I had imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate, but if you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
I'm sorry I asked you about it? Is that what you want to hear? Ash, that's it? Okay.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
What the heck were they saying?
Oh, okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry, I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
What's their relationship like? She's pretty high up there. I think it's higher than Isabella, actually.
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now. When I'm ready. Like today.
Oh.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah?
Okay, that's understandable.
Whew. Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected. I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our... what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons?
Yeah, I feel like if he told Becca's the type of person who'd just be like, ooh, why don't you go to therapy? I want to be all over you and make sure you're okay. And then she's going to over-worry about everything, and every time he does anything, she'll just be like, oh my god, are you okay?
But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes her face, brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
You okay?
Yep, no worries. I'll be fine. Look, about last night, never mind. This isn't a good time.
It actually is a perfect time to talk about the ghosts that are actually going after you.
Don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more reassuring to my ears. There should be more comfort in hearing those alone and knowing that I have another person to rely on if things ever go bad. But somehow I find myself worrying more for her instead. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can, but this is a dance I know all too well, and with her, I doubt forcing her to say something would yield any results. As much as I want to imitate Ash, there's only so much I can ask that won't result in something a little over-disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I've never even seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe, and often directed at Ash, but never furious. What did they say again about the happiest people when angered? Besides, it'd be unfair to her after our little chat.
Food then?
She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject and has as if it had been simply waiting for its cue all this time. Her stomach rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of
Alrighty,
fact.
Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that hungry.
Clearly, she is.
Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks. I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe. I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
Soft laughter that comes from her doesn't quite reach her eyes. Neither. The answer is neither, because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the ham.
Potatoes and
for that?
ham? For breakfast?
What?
Heck yeah.
Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about? I'll have you know, I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All
Isn't that
my
just a
siblings
paella?
love it.
Sure you can.
Not a paella?
I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Isn't that paella? Ah! The voice actor is not Filipino then. Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with small chatter, cooking ends up being a mostly quiet affair. Between us, the constant clapping of the knife against the board and the muffled noise from the television I left running, words have become surprisingly difficult to string together. Not entirely unusual, we've had moments like this before, but definitely unnerving with how things are now. I really wish someone else would come knocking at the door. As pleasant as this is, breaking the ice or keeping a conversation going has never been my forte. That has always been Isabella or Rebecca's department. Sometimes Ash, although most coming from him border on awkward or embarrassing. Speaking of the guy, he never did call back, and I'm willing to bet my entire yearly salary that he fell right asleep after the phone call.
Sorry, Bella. Could you...
Yep, I got it. The potatoes are almost ready, by the way. I turned down the heat just in case. You might want to check on them, though.
But sometimes standing in silence with your friends is fine.
Hold on.
It means you're
I'll be
comfortable
right there.
enough, right?
Sheesh, wait up. If you keep rapping at the door like that, you'll break it down. Ash.
Oh, good. You're awake.
How did she already know? Did she look at the people? Ash had already welcomed himself in when I take my eyes away from the oven. He's never been really keen with the notion of courteous after he's warmed up to you, this guy. All 13 of my locks he broke. He broke 13 locks? Oh my god, that's a little excessive. He's a good fellow, though. Maybe a tad standoffish at first glance, but trustworthy.
Don't you have work today?
I could ask the same of you. Hey, Izzy, man.
You're late. Something came up? You need to drop the Z-Man. It's getting old.
Sorry. I got caught up with something at the precinct on the way here. Had to attend to that first before things got out of hand. I'd tell you about it, but you know how it can be with those kinds of things. Later, maybe.
And you're here because...
What? I'm not allowed to say hello?
I doubt you're here because of that. And you're not answering my question.
He's here because he likes you.
Ah, my bad. Forgot to mention that. He called earlier looking for you. Rebecca's worried because you didn't come home last night.
You could have called my cell instead.
You weren't picking up. Anyway, I'd really hate to cut this little get-together short, but I need to be somewhere else. Come on, Isabella, let's get you home. I'll drop you off on the way.
Wait, we're going now?
He lightly claps a hand on her arm and begins ushering her out of the apartment, throwing a casual wave at me as they pass. Isabella, on the other hand, doesn't appear too fond of the idea. And sure enough, before they can even cross the threshold, she puts a firm foot down, the force alone enough to halt them both and catch the taller man off guard. It would have made for a funny picture. The way Ash almost crashes into her and Isabella giving him an indignant pout over her shoulder. Surprise and confusion are in his face all at once, two things that rarely ever grace it if he can help it. A rare moment, even for our small group. If only I had my camera with me. Dang.
What is it?
Zach cooked something.
If it's just food, I'll get you something on the way back.
Dude, Zach cooked it, though.
But the food! It's Zach's cooking. Real delicious food that actually tastes like food.
Exactly.
At least stay and have a bite. Please, Zach, help me here.
These two, whenever they're in the same room, sometimes it feels like herding a group of unruly kids instead of talking to two mature adults. One moment they're engaged in pleasant chit-chat, and the next they're bickering over a minor issue. Frankly, if I didn't know any better, and I have an overactive imagination, I'd say there's something going on. There will be. No, I'm kidding. Never mind how utterly impossible that idea is. Or it might just be me reading too much into things, like always. I can already hear Ash's laughter if I so much as suggest such. Saving. Where are we? Journal. Pills. Branching tree. Here as well. I took the much simpler route, apparently. I already know that. Question.
I don't know about you two, but I think you guys should really stay. I've already made enough food for all of us, and it'd be a waste.
Up! Up! Thank God! Thank God that's the right answer. Beautiful.
Why, I cooked up that special honey glazed ham you
Ugh.
two keep on yapping about. Got some scalloped potatoes with onions and cheddar to go with it, too.
How did he say he didn't have enough food in his kitchen? I think he had plenty of food. I shoot the two of them an apologetic look before sauntering over to the kitchen, mittens in hand. The sweet smell of glaze and salty tang of melted cheese wafts through the air as soon as I open the door to take out the two trays inside. The scent immediately fills the entire room, and even with the door and windows open, the mouth-watering aroma lingers. It's appealing enough that when I put the dishes down on the counter, another starved stomach protests loudly, followed by a burst of laughter. My head snaps up to the two of them, and I can't keep back the smile at the sight they make. Isabella is clinging to the door frame for support, doubled over with breathless laughter. Ash is more composed of the two, trying to look unconcerned, but a flush has crept up to his neck and cheeks. It's clear whose stomach that came from, and Isabella is not going to let him live this down.
You're in no place to reject an offer of free food, Frey.
I wasn't rejecting anything. Damn it, I just missed a meal, that's all.
Aw, he's flustered.
Shut it! Those guys at the precinct said it was urgent. Somebody has to be responsible for it.
Well, aren't you precious?
Right. You know, if you keep laughing like that, you'll burst.
I'm sure it won't be as bad as your stomach suddenly rumbling like a starved.
Hi, kiddos, play nice.
Play nice.
It's gonna get cold if we keep this up. Ash, you gonna stay?
Might as well, since Scaredy Cat's so hell-bent on staying.
That does look delicious, man. Can I eat that? We eventually settled down after the food has been served, the jibs replaced by another round of friendly chatter, mostly about what's on the news the night before. There is, however, a conscious effort to avoid mentioning what's currently in the headlines. The dead is never a good topic to talk over food in polite company. This case, the wounds are too fresh too soon. I'd likely avoid it as well if I were in her position, and someone I personally knew passed away in a gruesome manner like that. Though perhaps the closest we got to broaching the topic is when the infamous mansion is brought up again. But even then, we are careful, Ash and I. We keep the conversation light and avoid bringing up her late business partner. It's the least we could do.
The Wrights? Yeah, they're planning to move in soon. In fact, they already have a housewarming party planned. It's why they wanted us to rush the papers. They wanted to send the invitations out as soon as possible.
Oh, now I get it.
Get what?
Remember what I told you last night about the new clients?
Clearly the Wrights.
Vaguely? Sorry. Was it the photo shoot?
Yep, it's actually for the one you sold.
The Irma.
Something.
God.
When you put it that way, I suppose it makes sense why my boss wants me to prioritize the couple. They can have those documents rushed at just a snap of their fingers. And they're more influential than I initially thought.
Yeah.
And I guess my boss is expecting a lot more from this project than I expected. Hope I can live up to it.
Your photographs are more than good enough, Zach. You'd probably win an international award if you let yourself.
Oh.
Ma'am Hana's easy to please, too. As long as you're good at following instructions.
Easier said than done. Different clients have different tastes, after all.
Still, a week? I don't think that's possible.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. They wanted everything finished at the earliest. To be honest, it's not unheard of, but...
But it's still weird.
Fishy. Just admit you're investigating.
Still weird, yeah?
A slip of the tongue. Still barely noticeable to someone who's already familiar with Ash's ways, yet in this moment it's impossible to miss. I shoot him a curious glance, but he ignores it. Rather pointedly.
I can't exactly say it's like that. Where I'm just the middleman after all. As much as I want to comment on it, I only know what's on the surface, not the in and outs. It's just that BRC and my boss are more hands-on with the legal stuff this time. despite having a separate department dedicated to it.
Weird.
Maybe Mr. Wright helped with it too. They have their own legal team for this, don't they?
Well, they should have one. Especially for a big property like this.
They have, but like I said, it's off our hands. Rose and I don't handle this stuff in the office. If anything, to me, this just means I'll be able to send the rest of the funds to Papa's treatment earlier.
I guess that makes a whole lot of sense. Officially off our instant noodle diet, aren't we?
Aren't we?
Ash, has anyone ever told you that you have an uncanny way of ruining the mood?
I like how her expression actually changed in the background picture.
What? I was just saying. A few more months of stuffing your face with those, and I'm sure you'll start to look like a noodle cup. That's a pretty picture.
At least I don't live off convenience store food. Or make poor, unassuming pressure cookers explode.
What? How did you... Oh, come on, Zach.
How did he make a pressure cooker explode unless doing it on purpose?
Sorry, it just came up while we were cooking earlier.
I'm impressed, Ashton Frey. You even made it to the news.
A one-time thing. And it wasn't as big as you seem to be imagining.
Oh, sure. Let's all pretend that one time you almost set my apartment on fire didn't happen too.
What is this guy's problem?
Hey, that was an accident.
You were making a salad, Ash.
How do you almost set an apartment on fire by making a salad? Oh my god.
Can we please move on to a different topic?
It helps. The casual talk, the harmless teasing, the mundane stories, interesting enough to let time pass unnoticed. By the time that lunch ends, the shadows... This is lunch now? You guys woke up at 6:30. How is this lunch? The shadows are no longer at the forefront of my mind. If it's the same for Isabella, or for whatever troubles her, I can never tell. These things, the anxiety, the fear, they ain't easily seen, ain't easily forgotten after all.
You go on ahead. I've got a few things I need to ask Zach.
So much for trying to take me back to my own house.
I'll be downstairs in a minute.
Oh, he's still gonna drive me. Confusion briefly flashes in her eyes as she catches the keys he tosses over, but he doesn't give her an answer and waves for her to go ahead.
How sure are you I won't be driving away with your Shirley?
You don't even have a license. Do you even know how to?
That's because when they were at the party, he said, be careful with Shirley, so he must have been telling someone who was parking it.
Papa taught me how. I'm probably a better driver than you. See you later, Zach. Thanks for the food.
Always has to have the last word, don't you?
Yes.
You're welcome. I'll send you the recipe for the potatoes tonight.
A grin is back on her face when she leaves and closes the door behind her. For a little while after we're left alone, Ash goes wholly quiet, listening, waiting for her remaining footsteps in the hall to fade. The earlier amusement is gone from his face, replaced by what I can only describe as trepidation. I know that look all too well. When he's like this, he's expecting shit to go down at some point soon.
That wasn't very nice, Ash. What was that with Isabella earlier? You're usually subtler with your questions.
Yeah.
They hired you.
Hired me who? Don't change the subject yet. What's really going on here?
The Wrights. Luke and Hannah Wright. You said your next gig is with them.
Is that what this is all about?
Just be careful around them. You have no idea what you're dealing with when it comes to that couple. I'd rather you stay as far away from them as possible, but you're already here. Isabella's their real estate agent. Seriously, of all the people in Luxburn.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
He nods, claps a comforting hand on my back, and turns to leave without another word. He's never been good with those. More often he fumbles with what he wants to say, but his actions alone are enough to tell me how grateful he is for the trust. He reaches for the knob as soon as he gets to the door, but doesn't turn it. Instead, he looks back and gestures with his head towards the table. I don't need to follow his line of sight to know what he's going to ask about. He's likely taken notice of it the moment he entered the room.
You back on those? I haven't seen you taking them in a year.
Yeah, I kinda had to. It got worse after the film fest. The dreams, that is.
I bet it is, because this film is about African Americans in England, I think. So yeah, it'd probably bring back bad memories.
I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon.
Heard about that. Don't drop it, though. You don't want Becca scolding you. She actually enjoyed the movie you made, and she's hard to please. Consider that a small victory.
You don't have to tell me. She already did. Rebecca and Bella both gave me an earful after I said the opposite. Promised them I wouldn't, but you can never tell. Hopefully, once I feel better, I'll be able to think about it properly. Speaking of Bella, she didn't open up to me, but maybe with you and Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to her.
Thanks. That's all I'm asking.
This time when he reaches for the door, he lets it close fully behind him without glancing back. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind him, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion. Hannah Wright, 11 a.m. for luxury living. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meeting now. Thursday. Oh, so this is after. I like his singing, it's cute. And then he shows up on Wednesday, and so this is the day after. Okay. Next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving collective mess of work suddenly piling up with unexpected acquaintances or friends. He's referring to Hannah. Where are we? Here we are. Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I have grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with a big name on your client list, like the Wrights. Names like the Wrights, in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture. Other times it's everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple, but between that and the fuss that comes with it, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Yeah, except for Luke, but yeah. Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal, but just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. Miss Wright, Hannah herself, though, she ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. That's the cute photo that had the demon behind her when he took it. Tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, a newfound friendship is what I at least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might even have ended up as friends with Rebecca and Isabella, too, if they weren't living at worlds apart. Probably. The beep quickly pulls me back from my thoughts before my thoughts travel any further. In one practice motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on a drying rack and amble over my makeshift darkroom to get the last photos of the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, a film processor lets out another soft clack before going into standby mode. And its mouth, a lone photographer sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. Oh god, this is a demon. It's the last one for tonight, said Miss Wright requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however, she did treat me well, and was a pleasant companion throughout the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these helps, a little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flu. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one, even if my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity while I fish for the squeegee among the mess of tools on the drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before its glow settles and casts a soft light in the tiny space. When I glance down, a squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night.
What on earth?
Yeah, Her head is gone. Well, it's technically there. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
That wasn't you. A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick up a newly processed photo in the dark like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times, actually. But I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
Really, game, breaking the fourth wall with that? Memory clicks, one cursory thought in the sea of many, in a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. Yeah, that's what happened. A woman, in her 20s or early 30s, maybe. But with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. Her skin itself has already been taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something, that's all. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
That's all I said? The memory alone is enough to make me retch. I brushed it off then, a trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such a thing to happen. And while blaming this on the usual fatigue, an overworked brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense than what a small voice in inside my head whispers, the same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul, the same that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. With each second I spend staring at the photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Interesting. I can pick. What's this? The photo. Let's see what either decision does. Oh my god! That takes me down a much quicker... Actually, it's not much quicker. Oh my god, it's just a big decision. I'm fine with showing it to Ash because I'm not trying to get Hannah and Zach together. Oh my god. I hope to god I don't regret this later. I can already hear what he's going to say about this moments before I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. The guy is skeptic through and through, and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this. But when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs on the back of your neck, and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I am no hero. That's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this help him change his mind, it's worth a try. Isabella's gone and done the same thing, didn't she? What was that update for? Oh my god. Oh my god! Oh, I'm here. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Outside the sun is yet to rise. I've got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him. Plenty of space to check to see the same results if I redo the process. The film processor hums back to life at my touch, and the light switch gives out a soft click as darkness embraces a small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
I don't like this. It's gonna be scary. Oh, good. We skip. Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and 1 visit to his flat later. I still have no idea which rock in Luxburn he went to hide under again. This guy has his own place but refuses to stay in it. Has his own phone but doesn't answer any of the calls or give any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time he'll just show up on my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night complaining about how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Nothing new from him, though, but a bit frustrating, really. There's a police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time, either. And if that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much to do for me but wait to see if that's the case.
Hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxborn is a relatively peaceful city boasting low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like the receptionist who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
For just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the 4th one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out my phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls out his own mobile, wordlessly fiddling with it a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though, only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. If I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
I don't know, keeping in contact maybe?
You know what it's actually used for? Communication. When he merely shrugs, I know I've struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful. Only when he gets too focused on one thing, like a case he's handling, he tends to forget there are other things around him. A little reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Look, about that. There's something I want you to see.
Cliché. He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards the very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow
Over
in
lunch.
question.
I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. We're back to Starbucks! As expected, he takes a seat at the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of those who come and go. As secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this lunch he invited me to, I'd automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has that I've gotten used to. Food arrives minutes later. Oh my god, that looks delicious. Is that supposed to be Ash? A cup of coffee for Ash. Vegetarian quiche and a gracious serving of cake.
For lunch?
He shrugs and proceeds to dig in without a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get a Christmas present early.
Don't tell Becca. I'll get an earful. It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets. I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of 2 kids. One bitches on sweets, while the other on cup noodles. At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something. Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
Oh my god.
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
To be fair, he genuinely appears offended at the last remark. Hate will be too strong of a word to describe how Sis and him usually interact whenever they're in the same room. Though whatever appropriate word it is, I can say with most certainty that the feeling's mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet and I should stay away from. They're both technically right on their assessments.
How's your sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
Ah! Oh my god! She's married to one now, you're the one who started it. Technically, he's Asian, not white. They said he was Oriental.
You do know she's married to one now.
That works.
I hope she doesn't end up poisoning him with her cooking.
Oh, with her cooking, thank God.
Calling the kettle black?
She can't be better than me.
Actually, she is now. They're planning to start a restaurant sometime in the future.
I was bedridden for days after eating some of the stuff she whipped up. And now you're letting her cook for other people?
It's not like you can stop her.
Don't exaggerate. It was just for one day, and you're the one who refused to leave your apartment. You should come by, though. Sis gave birth a few days ago.
Oh.
Girl, I've only seen the pictures. But I might visit sometime after everything's settled down. Too many backlogs to go through for now.
No way in hell. She'll just find something to criticize again. Last time, it was Shirley.
What does his car look like? I need to know. He makes a show of being utterly mortified, though I'm quite sure he doesn't mean any of that. He might not say it straight out, but I'm pretty sure he's enjoying the small visits whenever he can. Something about it reminds him of his own family, sort of like making up for the one he never got back after his parents separated. Sore spot, that one topic, but one thing he never brings up in any conversation if he can help it, and I've never seen the need to be nosy. There are some wounds you're just not meant to open, and for the both of us, the sentiment goes the same way.
As if you ain't already on a shit list. You're just afraid of her.
A shit list.
In your dreams. But I'll think about it. Can't just drop this thing at the moment.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation over the matter hangs completely palpable in the air.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually.
Double checking the stream, sorry.
There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one. What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps. And well, there's this one thing.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo that I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of it reprints of the same thing, Mrs. Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even as he gathers all of it to one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off. Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every unimaginable dirt on them, including the family history.
Are you done with your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
The letter. He drags his breath, reaches up to his nose, and pinches it like the action alone will help grant him patience in the world to continue the conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you.
You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this and he'd walk out of here without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hannah.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hannah? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
She likes me. She really likes me.
Why does that even matter?
Exactly.
I thought you said this was just a gig.
Oh my god. His voice stays level, but the accusation in it's clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than the tone usually does. Save. That's not the point here. That's not the point. Oh, he went down. I don't want it to go down. Shoot, I just resaved, didn't I? Damn it. No, don't save again. Load. Shoot. Now I have to skip through a bunch of stuff.
You do know.
I hope
Hot call.
she can't be.
Actually,
I was bad.
don't exist. You should come back. I've only seen.
No way. Last time,
I hate doing this. But you gotta do what you gotta do to
As
make
if you
things
ain't-
right.
in your drink, but I'll think.
This is why you save
Don't know
before
the opposite,
everything.
Actually, there's been some. What about you?
Well.
The freaking music change.
Oh, how did
The
you?
locket. Evan's family heir. Are you done with your work?
Yesterday, yeah. But see, remember the letter?
Please tell me that.
No, Ash, you've got.
I am listening. These are some blurred out photos.
You're the photographer.
I know what you mean, but
Almost.
Ash,
Almost?
yesterday though.
Hana?
Oh my god.
Why does that?
I thought you said this was.
Okay, now let's resave. Yes. There. We're gonna get married. We love each other so much. Patience can be a tough thing to summon at times, but we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord
Bro,
of us.
it's really just another freelance work.
Bro. He eyes me skeptically, the same stare that he reserves for people that he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before early in our friendship. Years later, he's already gotten an unimpressed police look down
Hey,
pat.
there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hana. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
What?
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
Well,
I know
clearly
you
he
don't,
does.
But keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved.
Oh my god.
Man, without your acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes a better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself. Off to the far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such in a place as public as this. He returns a little while and hands me this small card. Oh, it's Clark again. Is the professor gonna die?
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me. He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
Go on, I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
He gives my arm a tap and walks off, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is his own little way of helping out, despite the fact that he doesn't voice out. We're in a new place! And at Starbucks. Starbucks. And our relationship's gonna get married. No, I'm kidding. Of all the places, it never really crossed my mind I'll end up wandering into the public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow there has always been this kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth during brief times of the day I was left to my own with nothing to do. I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact. Read all of them twice or thrice even. He likes to say thrice a lot. But they never did hold it for long. Most of it never even sticked. Isn't stuck, not sticked. Especially after I learned that it's simply easier to do things myself if I want to learn stuff. This ain't the plan in the first place, but after Ashton went through the trouble to contact the professor, I can't just ignore it. Nothing but quiet greets me inside, though. Where are we? We go through that, we go through this. We go through that, and we're almost at the end of this. This is about the halfway point. I think once we get to here, I'll stop for the night, because I've been going for almost 2 hours. Not the typical mum one would associate with a library, but the one akin to Hush prior to impending trouble. Dun dun dun. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this, that this is just the lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from the group of students murmuring in the corner somewhere, the place is free of its usual visitors. All the while, my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs on the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him, being the only occupant in this side of the room. Professor Andrew Clark. I never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he's Ash's go-to guy when there's something troubling him with a case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile like a grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary. You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh, no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures at the empty seat at the table while he returns to his books. Next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the pile he's accumulated on the table. Maybe I should have taken a book first before heading here, but before I can even get far into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sets it atop a stack
Ashton
next to him.
told me you were hoping to get answers from me. Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there are a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess in the first among tens, hundreds of concerns in my head? But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but patient, however, with enough time to mull over a question finally forms.
Do you believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually.
It could be either. Did he really have to be that particular about it?
Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make. But they really are two different things. The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
Places a couple of papers in front of me, the very same one he was writing on earlier. A study of Luxborn's supernatural culture in a nutshell.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture, and this city thrives on it.
This voice is weird.
Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even. Out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Ah, here it is.
The book is pulled from the stack and placed on open up top the papers while he speaks with such passion it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm personally not a fan of such stories. And soon hours pass by without my notice.
It asks for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the wraith.
Does something have to be a person, or can it be actually something?
A sad tale, that one. But the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person, with some people none the wiser. Oh, I'm sorry. I just went on.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde Mansion, though?
Oh my god.
Of course. That goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend? In fact, you aren't the first one to ask me about that recently. Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Yeah. The right couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard. Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
Everything.
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
Almost there.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, it's the kind that has changed over the years, passed down from one person to the next. Sometimes, it's the Lord William who haunts the place. There are versions where it's the lady of the house. But my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There's a moment of hesitation on my part before I pull out Mrs. Wright's photos and I lay them in front of him. Unlike Ash, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. That gives me some hope, at least.
When were these taken?
Recently? I like this picture.
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see. But then, it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. You have my word on that, Professor. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you, but most of it often ends in an unpleasant manner.
He's not wrong.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Deserve what, sir?
That's right. He said he had a thing against the rights. All of a sudden, the tenderness in the professor's eyes disappear, his face becoming unreadable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat and gathers his books and rises from his seat. Does he think that they killed his professor friend who was studying the supernatural or whatever at the house? That makes no sense, because I'm pretty sure it was actually the ghost, but... Really?
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do. You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years. I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
And now he dies. He doesn't hear it, however. In a few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me with every piece of this holy mess amidst the oppressive stillness. Almost there. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. If there is even a single way out of this, I hope we find it soon. There we go. Double check the journal. Very nice. Gonna save. But like I said, I'm gonna have to end it there because an hour and 45? Almost 2 hours. It's pretty good. Pretty good to me. But yeah, thank you guys who watched, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Not as many spooks, but some spooks were had. I have a feeling more to be had nearing the end of this for him, because we're only halfway done with him. So yeah, I'll probably be back again tomorrow, Sunday, again, around the same time, depending. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment if you have anything to comment, and sub if you're new. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye guys.